Thanks for having me on, Dustin. I appreciate it, man.
Your thoughts were in going into that game and how you played.
Our guys just came out enthused, fired up. We had a tough loss against Vegas the week before. Uh,
Mhm.
we just stay focused, knowing that we got to win out to make these playoffs, and it's one game at a time. So we knew San Antonio was going to give us a pretty good fight, and we also knew if we could, get some good punches in early, we could take their hearts and remind them that their season's already over, and it felt good doing that.
Yeah.
So it was a good fall. They got some great players. Um, and
Mhm.
our defense played lights out.
What was it's a pretty neat arena, right?
Yeah, it's pretty. It's next to the Spurs arena. It's kind of like a little rodeo arena, but the way they got it decorated and set up, I think they got a lot of neat things there. That decent crowd for July
Mhm.
5th, and I think the ownership there does an awesome job. Um, you know, getting the I guess the game operations person does a great job there. It's just the presentation of the game's awesome. They put butts in seats. They get a team out there that can win some games. I think they can do some big things.
Awesome. So they're definitely in it for next year, you would say?
Oh yeah, yeah. I think they're committed. I think they're a team that's committed for the next seasons. They got to get better at some spots. They had some turnover at coach to start the season, but that's above my pay grade. But I know their players they had some darn good players the last two seasons. But they joined a new league. Coaches are new to the league, so it's tough to win in the West. And
Oh yeah.
it ain't it's stressful week in week out to get some wins over here. The East was kind of a layup, pretty easy stuff. But the West, you're battling teams now. Bay Area's good. They used to be terrible. Um, San Diego's good. They used to be terrible. Duke City was in the league. They're no longer in the league. So you got Vegas struggled early. So now you got teams. The West is full of teams that can
Mhm.
compete and can win any given weekend. And it's a battle. I mean, the East is the same way like that as well. You got playing Quad Cities dominating. Green Bay's been playing well. Tulsa was good when TJ was there. They may still be us out with the quarterback they just signed. So Mass is on fire in Jacksonville. So I mean, you got parity throughout the league, which is pretty awesome. Just seeing each team week in week out play. It's going to be a situation when it comes championship time is who's hot at the right time. Uh, my coaching career started in 2010. I stopped playing in 2009 with the Bloomington Extreme, and got asked by one of our owners in 2010 if I want to start a team in Cincinnati called the Cincinnati Commandos, because I was done playing, and loved to do it. Did it. We ended up making a coaching change the week before our first game, and I became the head coach. And I had great players like Ben Malk, Frank Straub, Dominic Goodman, Robert Red. We had some studs, and just made the transition from playing to coaching a lot easier. Having those guys that could play at a high level helped me out as a coach, a young coach. Um,
Mhm.
and since then it's been 15, 16 seasons of this, and never thought it'd be that way. But I've been blessed and lucky to do these things for a while, and um, continue to do it as long as my family allows me, and um, logistics make sense. I appreciate it. And
But
two of those wins were against your Rattlers, and you're wearing Rattler.
I yes. So let's talk about that game. You guys were down 34-9, third quarter. Did you ever give up hope, or you knew how did you make that comeback?
We had them right where we wanted them. We did. That was the game plan, to get down by that much that late in the game, and just no, absolutely not. It was not the game plan. I looked up the scoreboard
Yeah.
and was like, "You got to be kidding me!" Because we had
Mm,
stuff open, we were missing throws. We needed something to spark us. I'll give the credit to James Williams, who just came in on defense and just made a huge interception and just kind of sparked the team. And it was it was an awesome event. But again, it didn't even come to play in my mind that we were going to come back and make the comeback. Our guys just started believing. I was over there bitching and complaining. These guys were pulling together and fixing the adjustments, and but it was a sight to see the guys, went in their sails, perk up, make the adjustments we need, and just pull the win.
Mhm.
Again, not to get it done in regulation kind of was a letdown because we only had to get 3 yards and only got 2 and got stopped behind. But
Yeah, that was crazy.
it was like, it was one of the surreal moments, to get the largest comeback in IFL history, against the Rattlers at Arizona. And
Mhm.
I mean, it was a good game for the fans to watch, other than the Rattlers losing. Our Sugar Skull fans loved it, but for me, I like those
No,
games.
I
You have that third quarter win, and you can coast in the fourth, and we haven't had one of them in a long time.
mhm. So then it goes to the first overtime, and then both teams scored a touchdown, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
And
No,
then
first overtime, neither team scored. They got the ball first,
we
then we had a turnover. We got the ball and didn't move the ball at all, and our kicker missed the field goal. Second overtime, I think they scored a touchdown. We got the ball first. We scored a touchdown. They got the ball, had it fourth and goal, covered up their initial first 2 reads. Snead makes a great third read, forces it in there, makes a touchdown. Extra point is in. Then they get the first possession of the third overtime and fumble. And then we get the ball. Actually, it's a
mhm.
pick. And then we get the ball and drive down to the 3 and kick an extra point, basically, to win it. And he almost missed it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he almost missed it.
Yeah. So, but I mean, if I was kicking that ball, I'd kick to the left field on the ground anyway. So I'm glad I wasn't the one kicking. So,
What position did you play when you were playing football?
slot receiver,
Slot
running back,
receiver.
Turner. Yep. Uh, just a slot guy. Just played scared, ran fast I could because I was scared to death. So that made me a couple of steps faster.
Mhm. So if you weren't the coach, what would you have been? If you weren't a football coach and a football player, what would you have been in life?
Well, either a police officer, um, a phys ed teacher. That was probably the main thing. Phys ed teacher, high school football coach,
Mm.
probably. Um, I would like to say I've been a doctor, but that ain't. I can't stand the sight of blood. But
No.
it'd have been something where I wouldn't be in a factory. I can't sit still. Can't stay in the same place every day. Got to have movement. Um,
Mhm.
Teaching would have been a tough stretch, but that was kind of what I went to college for. Was to be a teacher, was to special education or physical education. But yeah, I've been very good at 9 to 5 jobs, so I'm blessed to have this job. Doing what I do, going from baseball to football, and then
Yeah.
I'm coaching. So I've been around. My family's blessed me. Having my back on things, doing the things I've been doing throughout my life and career. So now I got a new great support system doing what I do now. So it's just play year by year, see what's next.
You're definitely up there for the two best Tucson Sugar Skulls coach of all time, in my opinion.
Called you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
I got a
I can hear
phone
you.
call. I got somebody at the door. That's why they're trying to get in. They're getting the ball
Ah,
pump. I think they're going to pump up a basketball. No, there's been great. I don't really look at the best Sugar Skull coach of all time. I mean, other coaches took the teams to playoffs. Won a playoff game. But,
yeah.
it's to me, it's about being the best coach I can for the year I'm here. So the years that I coach, I'll be the best I can be. Like I said, these last 2 seasons in the West, it's been tough. You got Bay Area's been on
Mm.
top. San Diego, Vegas. You got teams out here that are good that weren't good then that are good now. And so it's a lot more difficult to crack that playoff because you got great players out this league. This is the top
Yep.
tier, top league, in the country, and there's great players and coaches in this league now. And so I think you got to get a testament to the coaching staffs of each team. Making week in week out. It's a competitive battle. And then you got great players that either they're big school names or small school names that just step up and are just dominating this league now. Either the rookies or second year guys. Josh Jones of Bay Area out there slinging it, hell of a quarterback. Tomas, probably the most exciting offensive player in this league, who currently just fumbled though at the goal line. San Diego's ball.
He did.
Yeah,
Are you watching the game?
7-0 San Diego. Kind of got an interest in it for playoff reasons.
Yeah. Who do you think's gonna win tonight?
Well, who do I want to win? Who do I think's going to win? I think the way San Diego's been playing lately, they're tough to beat. But as a battling for the 4th seed, we want Bay Area to get this win. Um, so but again, San Diego's just pumping on all cylinders recently. Right now.
And then you guys play Bay Area next week, right? Or
yeah, we got Naz this week, and then we got Bay Area at
Yes.
home. So it'd be nice to, but Bay Area's got to turn around and play Vegas on a short week Fridays. They play today, they play again on Friday. So it's a big game for Bay Area too to win this and kind of secure the number 1 seed, and then maybe rest some guys. But again, it's a long game. They'll figure something out. Bay Area's got the best players in this game for a reason.
So are you on the expansion committee? Do you have any insight that you're allowed to say, or
No, I think I've lost all privileges doing that stuff. I kind of got shunned from all those meetings. I'm not a fan favorite to the ownerships and stuff like that. So, I get bits and the rumor mill stuff. I used to be. It's funny going from the owners meetings to not knowing a thing. I don't even know things here at times. So, but again, it's a different atmosphere. But I just hear what people say. Whether it's South Carolina or an NAL team trying to get in. People assume that the Renegades are coming to the IFL, but no one's heard anything about it. So, but based off their gameplay and how the arena looked, ain't no way they want that in this league. So they got to get.
I was going to ask you that. So they would definitely not be a good fit.
No, not the appearance, the perception. No, they wouldn't. Especially what this league's trying to do to move forward. We got to our uniforms have got to be on point, game in, game out. We've had teams that haven't been that way. Teams that are now understanding why we have to be on point because there's big movements. The commissioner's doing some big things, trying to get some big things moved in, and right now that, to me, my personal opinion, is the Beaumont Renegades do not look the part. They look too semi-pro to be in the IFL. So that's why I don't think that's a true rumor. You can't rub 2 nickels together to make a dollar and get in the IFL. So they'd vet the ownerships there. There's vendors that need paid still in Carolina, which breaks my heart. But I think they'd be a great fit if they get the financial backing to get them in. Same with the Columbus Lions. I think they'd be a great fit. They got good ownership there. Albany Empire, Albany, whatever they're called, Firebirds. They'd have a rude awakening getting the IFL. They can't. It'd be a different atmosphere for them, different gameplay, different style. Have to get different players. Couldn't offer guys the money they offer, to get in this league. So it'd be a different.
Orlando
Would be a great fit, for Jacksonville, Orlando. I think the EJ Burt they got there to be a heck of a coach in this league. I think that'd be an awesome fit for the IFL. Build the East Coast up. So I think that'd be awesome. But I don't know if they are or not. I don't know if it's talked about, but I just know that they'd be a good fit.
So how come Wichita Falls hasn't come back? They just didn't have the fans, or?
Well, the owner there, Drew, got out of it because of it just we didn't get the fan backing in Wichita Falls as you would. I mean, if you're not the Cowboys or high school football in Texas, it's hard to get any fans. I mean, same thing for Frisco. Whoever thought of putting a team in Frisco was a complete idiot. Knowing that the Texas Revolution burnt the bridges, the Allen Wranglers burnt the bridges all through there, which I think was a dumb move from the beginning. But what do I know? Same thing with Carolina, Greensboro. They had fans there. That was kind of a dumb move to put a team there as well. But Wichita Falls it's an old oil money town. They're 10 years behind everybody. Like the owner said, Drew told me, he said, this is a great place to live, but a terrible place to visit. And he was right. There's tumbleweeds flowing through the town. I think the iPhone 1 just came out in 2018 up there. It was you had dial-up phones and stuff. So it was a different feel. But if the Wichita Falls Night Hawks were still in existence, we'd still be living there. But we loved the town. We moved there and lived there, created a family. We loved it there. So but it's just, I don't see them coming back because of it's hard to get butts in seats in places where this isn't the first priority or this isn't the only show in town.
Hmm. Surprising, Massachusetts Pirates. They really don't draw a lot of fans, but somehow they keep coming back every year.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
Jawad does something right up there. He takes care of his guys. He's a good owner. I know they got good partners up there. And a lot of the times it's about your
Mhm.
sponsorships. If your partners outside the field, that the stands that are backing you. And Jawad and his dad Hassan do a great job up there. I know they're not the darlings of the IFL. People don't are fond of him at times, but he takes care of his guys. He does things right for the players. Um, and they're always a tough team to beat because they've got some talent on the field.
And Tom Manas is a hell of a good coach.
Yeah, Tom's a good guy up there now. He's in a good
Yeah.
situation, so I think they can build a culture and they can. I mean, they'll be around for a while. Jawad's not here to do one time, and Jawad's a guy. He's invested. He's in there 3 or 4 in the morning when I was with him. Gained tons of respect for Jawad and what he does in Mass when I was up there. He's they do a lot of good things.
So, are you pretty much leaning towards signing with Tucson next year, or
I got one more year
that's
contract here, so
you got 1 year?
I'm here. As long as they want me here, I'm here. I want to try to get this team to a championship game in the Tucson Convention Center. I feel we got we got
Yes.
we got a team right now. I feel like we can do it. We got all the parts. We brought in some pieces, um, and it's not where you start; it's where you finish. It's not how you start; it's how you finish. The team that's hot late in the year is going to be the team that wins it, not the team that starts the season hot. So I think we're playing pretty good football right now. Besides my bonehead calls, not kicking the field goal early against Vegas and going for two too early, we're playing pretty good football. I think that's a different game.
Mhm.
You take the kick, um, but we got a great Naz team we're playing. Ramon's on fire. Their defense is playing real well.
Nice.
Coach James is a hell of a coach. Si's a great play caller. So they got a lot of tools that we got to take care of this week. If we don't win this week, the next week doesn't matter. Um,
Mhm.
but one game at a time for us right now.
Yeah. What's it like coaching Trip Harrington? He's a better receiver than quarterback, or
He's just an all around good. We want football players, and he's a football player.
athlete.
Ask him to do something, he's going to do it.
Mhm.
He's fun to be around. Great personality. He's going to be the face of this organization if he wants to be. Um, he's he's a football player. He reminds me of Jordan Jolly, receiver I had back in the day.
Yeah.
Because he'll catch it, he'll get open. He's got deceptive speed. Um, he's an X factor.
Did you give a call to Laughing House and see if he wanted to come back?
Called him to see if he wanted to coach. He retired last
Yeah.
year and said, "I got a receiving coaching position open. You want it?" And with his daughter in Texas, he couldn't make it work this season, but might possibly make it work next.
Awesome. He's a really great guy.
Yeah, yeah, tops on my list.
Yep, definitely. And then same with Holmes, the quarterback.
Holmes,
Yeah. Um
Reyna,
Charles McCollum.
Charles McCollum. Yeah, Charles is
Yeah.
tops too. Like, he's here. He's here helping us coach now. He's on season-ending IR because of a pec injury to start the season. But he's been awesome with the guys, and they've been picking his brain. He's been working with Jorge, the receivers. Just his knowledge of the game has been great for these young guys we have. Drew Dixon, Jerome Buckner, just picking his brain what he's got, and he meshes well. He's an older guy in the game, so a lot of these guys pick his brain, listen to what he has to say. Um, he's an awesome dude. One of my family's favorites as well as mine.
What in the future?
Just keep growing. I think that the league is in good hands with the commissioner we have. I think it's got a lot of like-minded people in the league, which is great to
Mhm.
have. Um, and I think you have to have that to run a successful business, to have a lot of like-minded people within the business to run it successfully. And I think I know the commissioner knows that, and I think a lot of these owners know it too. Um, and just the direction it's headed. It's the professionalism, the way it looks is light years from the way it looked 10 years ago. And the ownership knows that they see it. If they want to try to take this and transcend this to the next level, that's what has to happen. And you want to see the East Coast expand. You want to see the Midwest grow back. You want Sioux Falls to come back. You'd love to get an Omaha in, beat their ass, remind them why they left the IFL.
Yes.
Same time,
Spokane.
they have a great coach there. They got a great organization there. They're one of the tops that's been around. Spokane be a great place to come back, minus Sam Adams. Although he's
Mhm.
a lot of legal trouble up there in Washington now, trying to cheat and steal in high school football, which is pretty cool if you look it up. What's going on in Everett? Um, just a guy that just shit follows him. And but if Spokane comes back under like Shackelford as an owner, get his name on the ownership, I think that the city of Spokane would come back and fly and flock to it. I heard that Billings is trying to go to Spokane, but there ain't nobody in that Billings organization that's going to make those fans and sponsors believe that they're for real. So good luck with that. So
So you think there's a lot of teams that are applying for the IFL and Tryon has to look and see if they're a good fit or
yeah, I think if they're smart, they would apply. But again, the IFL does a great job of vetting, making sure guys aren't credit card millionaires. And I think the IFL executive committee does a great job looking through and finding the right people um, to make,
Mhm.
withstand and not just be they don't want one time 1 year teams. They don't want a team that comes here for 1 year or 2 years and goes away. They want people that's going to be here for the long run and kind of build the league with them. And so that's why they're looking towards you know serious partners. And if these NAL teams aren't serious and don't have the backing, or the mindset, that they're not going to fit. I know that Todd's going to make the right choice on it. The EC committee is going to do the same thing. So you trust them, and you look forward to them. Exciting to hear what's going on, and if it's true or not. When you hear it, it's like that'd be cool. That'd be a great place. But again, you trust what the commissioner does, and you go with it. And, we're looking forward to what's the future holds.
So you definitely think there's going to be some more movement in the IFL next year?
Yeah, if teams are smart and are serious about this game, then they for sure definitely would come to the IFL.
Uh,
It just the product's better, the gameplay's better, the just the presentation is better. I mean, you looked at the Rougarous field last year in the NAL, and just all the BS that went through at the NAL. I mean, it's just a joke, And you got teams in the NAL that could be in the IFL, but again, they like to win. The IFL, it's a battle every week. And there's no layup game, and I'm not saying they can't compete, but at the same time, it's you know the mindset of some ownerships are they're happy where they're at because they're making money, and that's the name of the game, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. But at the same time, why not just make one big league and make it the best it can be, and take it to the top.
hmm You think the Beef would be a mediocre team in the IFL?
No, I think they'd be competitive. I think they'd be just like anybody else. I think they'd adapt,
Mhm.
sign good players, and they got a great venue, great turf. I mean, great ownership staff, coaching staff. I think they'd compete. I think they'd be a competitive team in the IFL. They wouldn't win the championship. I don't think they'd get to the championship game in the first two seasons because it's not easy. The IFL is the hardest to win, hands down. I've had 5 championships in different leagues. And the IFL is a league we haven't won a championship in because it's a different game. Maybe the rule set's the same in the NAL now, but it's a different game when it comes to coaches. You go to a halftime in the IFL, adjustments are made, and you can't just keep running the same thing over and over. You have to make adjustments, and you got to change stuff up mid game, and that's the test
Mhm.
of the coaches that are in this IFL. From top to bottom. Even learned a lot. From Curtis Riggs. Being in Texas, my first year in the IFL, up 14 at halftime on Sioux Falls, ended up losing the game by 28. It's just them halftime adjustment Sioux Falls Storms just made. It's like, daggone, and you see it.
Yeah.
But it's from being in this league and doing these things. So, um, yeah, I think it'd be a battle to get there, but I think they'd be competitive. Definitely they'd have more than one win for sure.
Do you know your overall record coaching record?
I don't. I know I got
No.
100 back in 19, I think, in Carolina, but other than that, I stopped counting. I'm not in it for the records. I do this because I'm
No.
coaching. I enjoy being around young men, helping them grow.
Mhm.
Sports, and this is just every year. To me, it doesn't matter what the record is. It's did you win a championship? Did you help place players into the next level? What players did you help mold and mentor during a tough time at home? It's just more than the record to me. It's about just giving back and being a positive leader for men. So
You're definitely that, man. You're an awesome person and coach, and I'm glad I got to know you and doing this tonight.
well, I appreciate it, man. Dustin, I appreciate you. Always been a great fan. Even when you were Frisco, you're still rooting for the Rattlers in Frisco, I remember. And then you moved down.
Yeah,
Then you're full blown Rattler. So, but I do like the hat you have on tonight. It's a good looking hat. Looks good on,
thank you.
better than that copper and teal you guys wear. Like
Yeah,
it's grown man colors right there, black and yellow. So
black and yellow.
you look good in it.
Thank you.
So
Well, I wish you nothing but the best going forward, and hopefully you guys make the playoffs. That would be awesome.
we're just focused on beating Naz. We got a tough team ahead.
Yeah.
We got Megatron at quarterback, so we got to do something to slow him down. And shit, their entire defense is Megatron. They got big boys all across the board in secondary. So we got
Hmm.
we got to come out there, play a complete game again like we did last week, and just kind of take it away from them early.
Marvin Kinsey, he's a stud.
Yeah,
Elder, gonna have
yep.
to watch the running game.
They got number 11. I think he's smooth. Stoudemire's a stud. Um, Trey.
Bruce.
Yeah, Bruce, he's a stud. Trey Farrell's over there flying around. Yeah,
Hmm.
Kid Rocket, nose guard, Mason Newton. You know,
Mason Newton,
got
yeah.
bodies. So, but yeah, they got a good squad. They can fly around and they do some good things. So again, that's a great example of how tough the West is. I mean, they should have won 7 games, 6 or 7 games. Well,
Hmm.
lost it late couple games.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you enjoy. You're preparing for NAS, so you have practice tomorrow, and then
Yep,
are
yep.
you starting your more practice tomorrow than today?
Yeah, we're on the field
Like,
Tuesday, Thursday. Then we travel, walk through Friday, travel Saturday, day of game travel. So we're prepared today, on the field tomorrow.
awesome. Well, good luck, and I will definitely be watching. And you have a great night, sir.
I appreciate it, Dustin. Thank you for having me on. All
Thank you. You
right,
too. Bye.
take care.
You too.